Hello, my name is Alexandra Lipa. I'm the Managing Director of International Affairs at the Iceland Ocean Cluster. And welcome to today's online recorded webinar. Today, we're going to be sharing with you one of our most exciting projects in the blue economy, and that's called Hack the Ocean. The Hack the Ocean programme is funded by Nordic Innovation as part of their Sustainable Ocean Economy programme. And we have teamed up with experts on the topic of multi-use at sea called the Centre for the Ocean and Arctic, and also a whole host of other partners that are supporting this project. Thank you very much to everyone. Our hackathon is going to focus on generating new and exciting innovative ideas to solve some of the biggest challenges in the multi-use at sea sector. This webinar is divided into 4 different parts. In the first part, we're going to hear a little bit more about the Nordic Ocean space and the Nordic blue economy. And then we're really going to dive into the topic of multi-use at sea and hear from our experts in this emerging sector. After that, we're going to hear a little bit about examples for how successful co-location on land and models for collaboration between different industries is already working, and some of the key lessons we have learned from this sector that we can apply to the marine environment. We're then going to have a look at some examples from the land where co-location and cooperation between different industries and different sectors is already working successfully. So we can look at the lessons learned that we can then apply to the ocean space as well. Then I'm going to share with you some of the findings from a co-creation event called a co-location coffee, where we brought loads of different stakeholders together from industry, from research, from governments. They are all interested in developments in the ocean space and multi-use at sea. And we asked them directly what they saw some of the challenges and the opportunities were for this sector, and also how we can do this in a more sustainable way. And we've used this to feed into the development of our hackathon. And lastly, I'm going to share with you what this hackathon is, what Hack the Ocean is about, and how we're going to use it to generate new and exciting ideas to solve some of the biggest challenges today in the field of multi-use at sea. So thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you enjoy the following content.
Hi, my name is Emil Geirot and I'm an advisor at Nordic Innovation. And I wanted to take just a few moments to tell you about who we are and why we're funding this hackathon. Nordic Innovation is the agency for innovation support under the Nordic Council of Ministers. As such, we're part of the official cooperation between the Nordic countries, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway and Sweden, as well as the Faroe Islands, Greenland and the Åland Islands. Our mission is to help Nordic businesses become more innovative, competitive and sustainable. Everything we do is also supposed to contribute to the Nordic vision for 2030. By that year, the Nordic region should be the most sustainable and integrated region in the world. One of the topics we're working with now is the sustainable ocean economy. All the Nordic countries have strong marine traditions, and our aim is to harness these strengths and lead the effort into getting more value out of the ocean without undermining its health. Thus far, we've arranged a number of events, published reports, and not least funded several innovative projects about ocean biomass. Now we've turned our sights to the topic of co-located activities, or multi-use at sea, essentially having several different marine activities in the same place at the same time. Here too, the Nordic countries have advantages to build upon, and the end result could be a more efficient way to use the shrinking amount of space available for marine industrial activities. What we're missing are concepts for practical implementations of multi-use platforms, and that's what we're hoping that this hackathon will generate. Later this autumn, we'll launch a larger funding activity based in part on the concepts generated in the hackathon. Make sure to keep an eye out for that. And if there's anything else on your mind, get in touch with us. For now, though, I hope you'll enjoy the rest of this webinar. Thanks for listening.
Hello, my name is Silje Elde and I'm a project manager at the Center for the Ocean and the Arctic at UiT, the Arctic University of Norway. Today I will present to you the concept of multi-use at sea and why it is important. But first, what exactly is multi-use at sea? For this hackathon, we define multi-use as when 2 or more marine business activities take place at the same time, in the same area, or on the same physical platform. It can involve sharing the same services, as for example operations, surveillance or maintenance, or sharing the same physical platform as a wind turbine at the top of an aquaculture installation. Now I would like to present a brief video on the topic, and following that I will delve into why multi-use is important and what it can look like. In the EU, there's a growing awareness of multi-use at sea. The concept is an important part of the EU's efforts towards marine renewable energy. The EU has dedicated millions of euros to the development of multi-use sites through funding projects such as United, MUSITS, H2 Ocean and more. The goal is to develop multi-use sites that can reach several ambitions within energy and climate, biodiversity and sustainable production and sustainable use of the oceans. So what can a multi-use site look like? For example, imagine seaweed being produced alongside the infrastructure of an offshore wind farm. Seaweed and offshore wind requires large areas for production, and co-locating these industries can potentially reduce costs. In addition, researchers are investigating the potential of seaweed as a climate mitigation strategy due to its capacity to absorb large amounts of CO2 from the atmosphere. Our imagined multi-use site might also include mussels, as mussels can benefit the environment by improving water quality in the surrounding area. Researchers are also exploring if mussels can become an ingredient in the feed for farm salmon, which might make co-locating with a salmon facility beneficial. In return, the multi-use site can provide customers energy, competence, data sharing and other services. Our envisioned multi-use site would ideally be self-sufficient in energy, maybe combining multiple marine energy sources with the potential to provide energy to nearby coastal communities or passing ships in cases of excess production. Exploring options like producing green hydrogen or ammonia for offshore refueling can also be considered. Offshore refueling would be beneficial for several ocean industries like shipping, tourism or fisheries. One compelling rationale supporting the development of multi-use sites is the concentration of ocean industries within a specific area, which in turn opens up other ocean areas for other uses such as fisheries or marine conservation. These are just a few examples of possible multi-use combinations and benefits. Despite the large potential, there remains a great deal that we don't understand about the effects of integrating two or more marine activities. We need to design solutions that are sustainable and viable and that facilitates coexistence in the Nordic region. Thank you.
My name is Anna Blume and I just finished a case study regarding my master thesis about the challenges and possibilities within multi-use with offshore wind and seaweed cultivation. During the study, I interviewed 19 different organizations across various sectors, such as fishery, aquaculture, government, research, and energy, to get a holistic overview of the different perspectives and impacts within multi-use and several sectors. Through the study, I explored several aspects. Stakeholders have very different perspectives. Some are curious and more open-minded, while others are a little bit more skeptical. All in all, they see multi-use as an opportunity if implemented as visualized. But several hurdles have to be tackled to clear the line for these stakeholders. First of all, communication. As multi-use affects a wide range of stakeholders and its possibility of positive impacts on societal, economical and environmental levels, it is important to be detailed and in-depth with preparations before being implemented. That means a holistic approach and a main focus on sustainable development on all three sustainability levels is significant for all stakeholders. Communication must be transparent and open for as many stakeholders as possible to engage. Different perspectives and expertises are crucial for a resilient process. This includes proper knowledge exchange, monitoring, and positive collaboration among all stakeholders. Hence, we have to look at economic competition and how to jointly implement long-term thinking, learning, and innovation. Skills and knowledge will be adapted over time. As we are talking about a natural environment that brings uncertain characteristics, which makes the need for good collaboration ever so important. However, there is a lot of knowledge already, as multi-use is not a new topic. We have to work on different and new business and research approaches to develop a sustainable system to make multi-use feasible. Next to those societal and economical challenges, we have to look at technical complexities. How to realize multi-use efficiently regarding resources, logistics, general operations, maintenances, or insurances. These economic procedures and environmental impacts have to be measured and monitored. Also, missing regulation has to be formed. Various stakeholders, top-down and bottom-up, have to be in dialogue to create evidence-based and efficient legislation. Should we use existing regulation, or do we need to establish novel regulation, or maybe both? This requires a balance of adaptation and reconfiguration. Another aspect within multi-use is value, economical value, environmental value, and societal value. This has to be clearly defined as common aim among the stakeholders. So to conclude, motivations have to be defined as all impacted stakeholders have to engage in a new process, as this being no ordinary project. Sustainability must be defined and instrumentalized within this project in a way to find harmony and add and restore value to the marine ecosystem, while at the same time gain and live in balance with it. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Sonja Andréen. I'm connecting with you today from West Sweden, from the city of Trollhättan and Innovatum Science Park, where I work as innovation leader. I'm excited to talk to you today about multi-use on the west coast of Sweden. Because here we see a great potential to already achieve a multi-use scenario by 2030. There are already approved offshore wind projects going on in the south, and there are other permit processes on review at the moment going north from us here in Trollhättan. That's an exciting time. From the perspective of a science park, we also see as a regional actor that we can contribute with both our competences in the area of renewable energy and blue bioeconomy, and that these two sectors have so many synergies to work on. It's an exciting time, and we see multi-use is a future scenario that we're active in supporting. Now, part of our work, of course, is actually to study and really understand both the challenges and the opportunities. And recently, this spring, we had the opportunity to have support from a student from the university in Stockholm, the KTH, Kungliga Tekniska Högskolan. What that student helped us to do was to gather a lot of stakeholders, do interviews, and find out more about this potential, and also what would be some of the incentives for multi-use in West Sweden. The study concluded with a few interesting results. One of them being that actually macroalgae does have the greatest potential in terms of short term to reach commercial viability in a multi-use scenario. For us, that's exciting. We do have a lot of algae farmers that are up and coming in our region, and this gives them an opportunity, a chance to expand. From an environmental perspective, the possibilities with multi-use also came up as being greater than perhaps some of the challenges. For example, in terms of transport and monitoring. Of course, one of the great obstacles that is still ongoing for us here in Sweden is, in fact, the permit process. It's an obstacle, and in order for us to reach 2030, we're going to have to find a different way moving forward and working with authorities, for example. But in Innovatum, we are also partner in an exciting project called Blue Bioclusters, and this project is going to allow us to help connect all those players in the ocean space and really co-create the future blue bioeconomy together. We're looking for solutions and innovations in this area of multi-use for the Swedish perspective. If you can help us out, get in touch, keep in touch, and let's see what we can create together.
So we are here at the Reykjavik Harbour at the Iceland Ocean Cluster house, which was established in 2012. The cluster itself was established in 2011. The idea behind the cluster was basically to bring together people from different parts of the seafood industry to figure out a way to increase the value, but at the same time do good for the environment. So what we did was to bring in the fishermen and the fish processors to talk to many of the scientists, people that had interest in even marketing products, designing products, doing other things that could increase the value of the whole seafood industry. And what has happened since is that we're seeing lots of these products that in the past were defined as waste becoming one of the highest valued products from the Icelandic seafood industry. So this co-location has worked in that sense that we're seeing trust being built, ideas being floating around, skills being shared as well. So we're seeing also quite good examples in Iceland now and in the Iceland Ocean Cluster of how these companies have actually met by the coffee machine in the Ocean Cluster house and created value through these relationships. We've seen a salt factory in the Westfjords of Iceland using some of the tech skills that were in the house from tech companies that were actually doing processing of fish. Sharing ideas meant that they came up with new solutions to do it more sustainably. In so many cases, we have seen how this co-location has meant that there is a win-win situation. People are realizing that these different skills can be shared and ideas come out of it, which creates value for the economy, but not least for the environment. So this idea of a co-location has worked for us here, and it, I think, definitely should work in so many other areas in the coming years.
Hello, my name is Dagny and I'm a manager of the resource park at HS Orka, which is the third largest power producer in Iceland. We operate 2 geothermal plants in the Reykjanes area and 2 hydropower plants, one in the east and one near Geysir in the south. Well, so some of you might wonder why an energy company is actually participating in an ocean-based hackathon that is focusing on hacking the ocean. But in the Reykjanes Peninsula, the research park is actually a hotbed for aquaculture. The reason being the unique resources of the Reykjanes power plant. But the geothermal power plant in Reykjanes is actually the only ocean-cooled geothermal power plant existing in the world. Now, how we do that is that we actually have boreholes that drill into the lava, and they pump up around seawater from beneath the lava, which is around 8 to 10 degrees. And once it's pumped up through the lava, it completely cleans the seawater, and it's free of all microorganisms. So what we do with that seawater is cooling the plant. So the seawater goes from 8 to 10 degrees to up to 30 to 35 degrees once it's exits the power plant. So what this water is, or ocean, is perfect for, this warm lava filtered seawater is perfect for, is actually aquaculture. So the aquaculture companies can actually use this directly into their operations, and they can blend it to the optimal temperature by mixing the hot seawater with the cold seawater from the cold boreholes. So they get the optimal temperature for the fish. Currently, a Stolt Sea Farm is using the warm lava filtered seawater in the Reykjanes area to breed their soulfish, which is a warm water fish. And soon Samhri will be opening a 40,000 ton on-land salmon farm, which will be also blending warm seawater with cold seawater to the optimal temperature for salmon farm. And we also have an abalone farm that is currently doing a project that they will use the warm seawater for breeding abalone on land in like a shelf system. So this can be used in very interesting ways. And along with the abalone project is a project called Circle Feed, where they actually use this warm seawater in circulation. So they use the excess seawater from the abalone farm and deliver it to macro algae farm that will be on land as well, and will use less temperature water there, like a lower temperature water. This is an R&D project that we are currently working on with few partners. Now in Reykjanes we currently have around 50 hectares of sites that are ready for new projects to be built. There we can supply electricity, hot water, cold water, and of course lava filtered warm seawater. In the future we can possibly supply clean CO2. For smaller projects and startups, we are in collaboration with the Eco Business Park in Reykjanes. And I just want to say we look forward to working with you on hacking the ocean, and I'm looking forward to your visit to the research park soon. Bye.
Hello, my name is Karen Kristjánsdóttir and I am a project manager at Eimur, where I am working on developing the eco-industrial park Bakki outside of Húsavík, where we are developing and creating frames for industrial symbiosis, or co-location of different types of industries working together and benefiting from each other. We are creating a cluster of industries where we are working on the principles of the circular economy, where the waste is minimized through reuse, recycling and resource recovery, where byproducts from one business can become a valuable input into another business. So to create the right frames and to fit this into the area that we are working with, we have started by asking us some different questions. For example, which resources do we have in the area around us that we should be focusing on? What are we currently doing in this area that is working? are we maybe currently importing some raw materials that we are also throwing away? And what should we focus on producing to help making the area more sustainable? The Bakki area is around 200 hectares, 2 kilometers north of Húsavík. It is already designated in the municipal master plan as for industrial development, where the infrastructure is supporting big industries. For example, the area is connected directly to the Húsavík Harbor with an industrial road specifically designed for heavy transport. There are a lot of different types of industry currently operating in the area, in Öxarfjörður, inside of Húsavík, and also at Bakki. We have PCC Bakki Silicon producing 33,000 tons of silicon metal every year. And all of these companies and industries are producing a lot of byproducts that we have started looking into. And we are doing this by mapping the area. We are looking into, of course, the resources being used, water, electricity, etc. But we are also looking at raw materials being imported to the area. We are looking at side streams and byproducts being produced in the processes in these industries, and we want to be able to make these streams more available and visible for others to see when figuring out just to see if there could be some possibilities in between the industries already in the area. But this is something that I will tell you more about in October, and I can't wait to see you all. Thank you so much.
So welcome to the Iceland Eco Business Park. This is a building that was previously thought of as becoming an aluminum plant, but is now becoming hopefully one of the centers of circular economy and co-location in Iceland. We're combining here industries that all have one mission, which is to become green and make Iceland greener, hopefully being able to use the waste from one company as a resource for another one. So this idea of taking over a building like that means, of course, that we're saving CO2 as well. We're using old structures to create value. We have already quite an interesting combination of companies that are showing interest in this concept here. So we hopefully will see later this year, in the year 2023 and then 2024, companies coming in. And already what's happening is with this co-location is that they're already starting the dialogue to figure out a way to use these waste streams sensibly, whether it is extra energy, some waste from vertical growing, from farming, etc. As we've done with the Iceland Ocean Cluster, where we focused on the blue economy, bringing people together in this co-location at the Iceland Ocean Cluster house in Reykjavík, we hopefully are doing the same here, bringing people from a little bit more wider spectrum of industries into this co-location space here to create the value that we see in this collaboration and the building of trust between different parts of various industries. So this facility here is around 28,000 square meters, so there's a work to do, but we see an opportunity in this co-location. And what we think we will be able to learn from this here, not only from the Ocean Cluster house, but this facility here, the industry park, is something that we can then duplicate over to the ocean space, which is of course our mission here, which is to look at the co-location in the marine space as well, see the opportunities there. But there are many things that we believe we are learning from the experience here that we can then use in the other spaces that we're talking about. So the Iceland Eco Business Park has a vision. The vision is that we will have here what we could call the 100% house. A house, a facility with lots of companies, lots of startups, where we will base the idea on the trusted relations between these companies, where they are collaborating, figuring out ways to use the waste streams, and hopefully become a center for the North Atlantic for how we can build the co-location space into a valuable, economically, socially, and environmentally friendly area where we are showing absolutely the best of what we can do with both the collaboration, but both also being in a spot in Iceland where we have lots of clean water, clean energy coming from our geothermal power and from our hydropower. So we can build something that is kind of unique for Iceland, but hopefully using that as an example for the future as well for others to learn from. In many ways, I think one of the learning processes in the coming years for me and my team is that we've had now the blue economy to work with in the ocean cluster. And it has been a challenge, but quite many successes. Now what we're trying to do is to widen the scope, and it means that we need to figure out a way to get different industries, different parts of different industries to talk together. It is a challenge, but I think we have, with the physical space, if we have the physical space available and an environment where we are sort of trying to get people to work together and have a cup of coffee together even, it means that we have an opportunity to take the next step with regards to other industries and combining them in a co-location space. So this basically project started with Kjartan coming to me with an idea of taking over this amazingly huge building. I had of course an experience with the Ocean Cluster House in the past, much smaller building, but with a concept that Kjartan sort of told me could actually be duplicated in many ways within in a larger setting. So I think that's probably how it all started. And now we're at this stage where we have an empty house, an empty building, 28,000 square meters, and the work ahead is to fill it up with green companies. Am I right there?
Yeah, I think so. I think like you have been describing for the past years that you have not had the possibility to offer companies when they grow an area where they could expand the business, like industrial facilities. So they went looking for some old warehouses where they could start. But here we have more in the same sense as you have been doing for the past years, but on an industrial scale. So we can offer them a continuance within like the ocean cluster and not having them separate from the cluster facilities. Instead they can
That's fine.
Yeah. So now they can continue with the same connection as they are located within the cluster. Yeah.
And our vision here is basically to change this into one of the greenest facilities in Iceland and hopefully in the North Atlantic. Having an opportunity to bring in companies that will take parts of the house, the facilities. Hopefully nearly all of them will of course be green. We're seeing vertical growing, maybe farming, some kind of fish farming, algae farming, even pharmaceuticals. We'll see how that goes, but at least that's our vision.
Yep, and also our vision is to operate and probably own a lot of utilities at the site, so we can manage the streams, like the waste heat coming from some process. We can grab it and direct it into other processes with other companies as well.
Yeah, I think what we have an opportunity to do here is actually to take this co-location into a new era where we are using the circular economy as a way to help companies as well economically to make more economic sense than else, and the same is with the environmental issues therefore.
Yeah. And then also like the location of the facilities. We are only just about 5-10 minutes from a well-connected international airport, and that opens up a lot of logistic opportunities, both related to goods and products being moved and also related to knowledge. We can attract knowledge quite easily from two directions, like US and Europe, quite easily into the site. People land, and a few minutes after they land, they are at the site basically. So that opens up a lot of opportunities for international businesses also to grow their business here.
But Kjartan, as we're just the two of us talking here, just in honesty, Are people are telling we are crazy? Do you think we are?
Yeah, I think we are. Definitely. But that's something that is often needed in projects like these, that you don't try to foresee everything that is in front of us. We just dive in and then we just manage things as we go along. And the end result in such projects is often great.
High five.
Hi, my name is Allison Beach. I'm from the United States and I'm a visiting researcher with the Yale Center for Industrial Ecology, and I'm working with Iceland Ocean Cluster to understand and look more into industrial symbiosis in Iceland. There are many lessons from co-location on land that can be applied to co-location at sea. One of the most important things that we see is open communication, trust, and transparency are key for robust co-location. This is especially important if you're sharing waste streams, for example, to have transparency about flow rates, material composition, certain risks associated, etc. So also the most important things is trust, transparency, and open dialogue between partners. For example, if you're sharing waste streams, you have to be transparent about material composition, flow rates, certain risks associated, etc. It's also very important to have conversations between stakeholders from the public and private sectors to really ensure that regulations support and not hinder co-location. Co-location on land can create positive impact. There's still challenges and certain opportunities for further research. For example, there's limited understanding of the environmental impact of co-location at sea. There's a limited connection and collaboration with local communities. And there's a limited understanding of the transferability and scalability of these projects, especially when new and specialized infrastructure is needed. Ultimately, the growing body of research indicates that there's momentum around thinking creatively to apply lessons from land to sea.
From this foundation of existing knowledge on the topic of multi-use at sea, and all these lessons from successful and existing co-location and resource sharing on land, now we really wanted to hear from the potential stakeholders of multi-use at sea in the Nordic region and ask them what they thought about this emerging sector. So we invited stakeholders from the research sector, industry, and government organisations all related to the Nordic Ocean space, and we asked them 3 key questions, and I'm going to share with you some of their findings. Firstly, we asked them what they thought might be the most challenging thing about bringing multiple industries together in the Nordic Ocean space. They highlighted that there may be market or regulatory barriers that really would require patient investment. They also said that competition and conflict of interest between different industries might really create a challenge in those initial collaborations and opening that initial dialogue. And finally, they said that really there was a lack of knowledge and a lack of example business models of how multi-use at sea in the ocean space could work. Next, we asked this cross-sectoral stakeholder groups what tools they thought would be really useful to address some of these challenges and facilitate multi-use at sea. They suggested that having a partnership platform for different industries to open a dialogue and collaborate together would be really useful. They suggested market or even policy incentives would drive this industry forward. And finally, they highlighted that it would be really useful to have demonstration business models or showcases of how different industries really can collaborate in the Nordic Ocean space so they could see for themselves and it could act as a pilot. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, we asked how the multi-use at sea as a business and as a sector might develop in a way that was not just economically sustainable, but also environmentally sustainable. And they highlighted 3 key things that we might think about. For example, having sustainability strategies built into the business plan, having monitoring and transparency about the potential environmental impact of combined industries in the ocean, and finally, open knowledge sharing about best practices for how this industry can develop in a sustainable way. These discussions with different cross-sectoral stakeholders were really invaluable in helping us to understand where we should focus our energy to really support and drive forward the field of multi-use at sea for the Nordic Ocean space. and they fed in to the challenge that we are designing for our Hack the Ocean hackathon, which will be held in October. And now you're going to hear from Justine really about why we're using a hackathon and how hackathons can really help us generate new, exciting and innovative ideas, particularly for such a new and emerging sector.
You must wonder, what is a hackathon? How can this format trigger innovative ideas and allow great solutions to see the light of day? First of all, let me tell you the basic definition about hackathon. A hackathon is an innovation competition taking place during a limited period of time. It can be 24 hours straight, 1 day, 2 days, or even weeks sometimes. The root of the word hackathon is a combination of the word hacker, a super smart programmer, and the word marathon, an event based on endurance. The term hackathon was extended outside the scope of the hacking, computerized world and brought to a wider audience by transforming it into an event where people from across different disciplines come together and create diverse teams to ideate on a specific challenge that is presented to them by the event organizers. This is the format that will be used for Hack the Ocean over a 2-day period. Hackathons are the perfect platform to nurture creativity by using a design thinking approach and removing the social and societal barriers like culture difference and beliefs that participants may have. First, participants get insight on the topic they will tackle through small lectures, presentation, or company visits, for example, to trigger their interest and curiosity. Multidisciplinary teams collaborate together to tackle the challenge of the day and find the best solution for it. A prototyping session can be initiated to convey ideas in a simple and visual way. The solution of each team is presented in front of a jury that will decide the best one, following specific judging criteria. Having a competitive event in a limited time is the key to get the best out of each participant and focus solely without distraction on a specific topic. During a hackathon, you not only learn from the topic addressed during the event, but you also learn about yourself, your skills, and you'll see beyond your own expertise by interacting with others. Alexandra will now present to you the challenge that will be addressed during Hack the Ocean.
Based on the format of a hackathon and based on all the input that we gathered from these different stakeholders, we identified a key challenge for our Hack the Ocean hackathon. The challenge we highlighted was, how can we design a viable and sustainable multi-use concept at sea that facilitates coexistence in the Nordic Ocean space? Our hackathon is going to take place on October the 5th and 6th in person in Iceland, and will take our participants on a whirlwind journey, hearing from expert speakers, mentors, and visiting key locations in Iceland where co-location across different industries is already functioning successfully. For example, we'll visit HS Orka Resource Park, the Iceland Eco Business Park, and the Iceland Ocean Cluster, all of which you heard from in this webinar today. The application for this hackathon is competitive and there are limited spaces for participants, but those selected participants will be funded to travel and stay in Iceland during the hackathon. So come and join us to ideate and design the future for multi-use at sea in the Nordic Ocean space. We look forward to seeing you in Iceland.